IMA औरंगाबादचे अध्यक्ष डॉक्टर उज्ज्वला रवींद्र जवर आजच्या कार्यक्रमात आपण सर्व प्रथम आजच्या प्रमुख वक्त्या प्रख्यात मनोविकार तज्ज्ञ डॉक्टर मोनाली देशपांडेंचे मी मिशन पिंक हेल्थच्या कार्यक्रमात स्वागत करते. अजून आज आपल्यासोबत आहेत महाराष्ट्र मिशन पिंक हेल्थच्या जॉईंट सेक्रेटरी डॉक्टर अर्चना भांडेकर मॅडम, ज्यांचं नेहमीच आपल्याला कार्यक्रमात सहकार्य आणि मार्गदर्शन लाभत असतं. औरंगाबाद IMAचे अध्यक्ष डॉक्टर रंजाळकर सर, सेक्रेटरी डॉक्टर गाडे सर यांचे आम्हाला नेहमीच सहकार्य व मार्गदर्शन लाभते. आजचा विषय आहे भावनिक बुद्ध्यांक म्हणजेच इमोशनल इंटेलिजन्स कसा वाढवावा. इमोशनल इंटेलिजन्स इज अ की टू प्रोफेशनल अँड पर्सनल सक्सेस. या वर्षीच्या शेवटी जगातील देशांच्या हॅपीनेस इंडेक्सवर जे नंबरिंग केले गेले त्यात फिनलँड हा छोटा देश नंबर 1ला होता व भारत 139व्या. 2013 पासून सतत आपल्या देशाचा हॅपीनेस इंडेक्स खाली जात आहे. त्याची मुख्य कारण आहेत डिक्लायनिंग इन्कम, बेरोजगारी, भ्रष्टाचारावर सर्व जनता नाराज असणे, लॅक ऑफ सोशल सपोर्ट, लो लेवल्स ऑफ एज्युकेशनल अटेनमेंट. तर आपल्याला आपल्या देशातील सगळ्या जनतेचा इमोशनल कोशंट वाढवण्याची गरज आहे, जेणेकरून आपल्या देशात सर्व धर्म बंधुभाव निर्माण होईल, जी की आपल्या ज्ञानेश्वरांनी त्यांच्या पसायदानांपासून सांगून ठेवलेली आहे. भूता परस्परे जडो मैत्र जीवांचे. तर ह्याकरिताच आजचं प्रयोजन आहे की नवीन जी पिढी निर्माण होती 11 ते 19 वयोगटाची आणि त्यांच्याना घडवणारे जे पेरेंट्स आहेत, जे शिक्षक आहेत आणि जे मुलं आहेत आणि सगळेच डॉक्टरसुद्धा, सगळ्यांनीच इमोशनल कोशंट वाढवण्याची ह्या पिढीचा प्रयत्न करावा की आपली हेल्दी सगळी पॉप्युलेशन निर्माण होईल आणि तसंच त्यामुळे आपल्या देशाचा फक्त GDPच वाढून उपयोग नाही तर आपला इमोशनल कोशंट वाढलं पाहिजे. तर आता अर्चना भांडेकर डॉक्टर मॅडमना मी सांगते की त्यांनी आपल्या मुख्य वक्त्यांचा परिचय करून द्यावा.
Thank you, Dr. Ujjwala Zavar, madam. Mission Pink Health, I will just talk a little bit about Mission Pink Health. This is a subcommittee of IMA, Indian Medical Association, and we mainly deal with all the health issues, all the problems, and we deal with a better generation for our country. So we deal with the adolescent age group right from 10 to 19 years. And I would like to appeal to other IMA members to come and join this Mission Pink Health so that we can get new people working with us with new ideas, with new concepts. We do have Zavar madam, we have Mayura Kare who are doing excellent job, but I would again like more people to be associated with Mission Pink Health. Thank you, madam. Today's eminent speaker is Dr. Monali Deshpande. It's a great pleasure for me to introduce Dr. Monali. Dr. Monali's MBBS education was from Nagpur University in the year 2000, DPM from the College of Physicians and Surgeons, Mumbai, then PGDCP MS from Institute of Psychomanagement Studies, Nagpur. Her work experience includes Shanti Nursing Home, one of the famous nursing homes, psychiatrist nursing home at Aurangabad. There she was associated from 2006 to till later. Then also she has worked as a registrar in Medical College Aurangabad, and at present she is a consulting psychiatrist at Mind's Eye. I'm right, ma'am? From February 2007 till date. She has attended number of conferences and workshops. Then she has the credit of conducting so many life skill development programs for children, for the army officers. She has delivered lectures on depression, its treatment. She has talked on All India radios on psychiatric awareness, on psychiatric problems. She has conducted various workshops on stress management, then delivered lectures as well. Her professional memberships include Life Member of IMA, Life Member of Maharashtra Medical Council, Life Fellow of Indian Psychiatric Society. Her ex-executive member of IPS Western Zonal Branch, then a past convener of Private Psychiatry Subcommittee, Psychotherapy Subcommittee, current chairperson of Transactional Analysis Subcommittee. Her awards includes IPS Women of Resilience Award 2020 and a Best Debater at National Symposium for Women 2019. Her special interests are in child psychiatry, transactional analysis and preventive psychiatry. We are so glad to have you, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Now
Thank
I
you.
hand over the dais to her and we will continue with the series.
Dr. Monali, at the outset, first I would like to ask, what is meant by emotional intelligence?
Okay, so basically we all human beings feel, and what we feel is what is emotions are made up of. So emotional intelligence is knowing what we are feeling currently, what range are we feeling into, what intensity are we feeling into, and understanding of oneself is basically an emotional intelligence. So emotional intelligence basically means that I can understand not only my emotions but I can regulate them in a specific situation, and also I can understand someone else's emotions and accordingly communicate with the other person. So emotional intelligence comprises of an understanding of oneself as well as the world.
What is more important, intelligent quotient or emotional quotient?
It is not same as intelligence. Basically, intelligence is a global capacity of human brain to connect with the world, to have an awareness of whatever is happening around us, plus our capacity to gain knowledge, learn, reason out, plan, execute, and function in the world in such a manner that we can complete our targets and goals and communicate with the world. That is basically intelligence. Emotional intelligence is an intelligence about one's own emotions as well as the emotions of the other people around us, so that we can relate with the people in a nice way and lead a life in harmony with the world. Which is more important? I suppose both have equal importance in one's own life, because if you have good intelligence, I suppose you have an upper hand into academics, learning, gaining knowledge, and pursuing your career in such a manner that you will do well in life. But I think emotional intelligence equally is important, because when you are living life, it is not only in the career that you are the only functioning person, but it is the people that you have to actually relate to, work with them, compete with them at times, and get things done, get a leadership position. So I think there the emotional intelligence plays a very important role, because if you have to be in a position, in any position in life, it is about relating with people, and hence I think both are equally important. But if you ask me, successful people out there have more emotional intelligence as compared to intelligence, and they are successful because they are people persons.
What is emotional intelligence made up of?
Okay, emotional intelligence basically is made up of few things like self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, then empathy, and certain social skills, which include a very important social skill of relationship management. So now what do you mean by self-awareness? Self-awareness is being aware of what is happening within me at the given moment of time. And am I feeling an appropriate emotion, or am I thinking correctly in the specific situation, so that I can deal with it appropriately without getting stressed or without getting bothered about it. That is self-awareness. Now self-regulation basically is not only being aware is important, because if I am aware and I do not do anything about it, then it is of no use. But self-regulation means I am aware of what I am feeling. But how is the feeling expressed? In what range it is expressed? With what intensity I am feeling it? And with how much time or what duration I am going to continue to feel about that specific situation is also important. Second important thing in self-regulation is whether I am appropriately feeling for that specific situation, and is my thinking in coordination with my feeling. I'll give you an example. If someone hits me badly, I have to feel anger as an emotion. If I suddenly start smiling and laughing over it, then probably it is an inappropriate emotion that I am feeling. Similarly, if I am feeling anger, it will help me protect myself from that person. But if I lose control over that anger, and that anger gets completely out of control to a level wherein I also start hitting that person back badly to an extent that I might murder him, is a loss of one's own thinking process, rational thinking process, which can put myself also in danger. So self-regulation of one's own emotion in terms of range, frequency, and in terms of duration is very important. Now if I carry this anger home, and if I start beating my children home for 2-3 days because I was hit, is carrying that anger for quite a long time. So you are not regulating it. So an appropriateness there is needed. Now what is more important is that motivation. Now there are many self-motivating videos going around, and there are a lot of talks, self-help books regarding motivation. I have a personal different view regarding motivation. I feel the new generation is less self-motivated because they are coming in the world of plenty. So what we have done is we have provided them with everything, and motivation basically is a drive which puts you into action for certain needs that you have in life. Now if someone has got all his basic needs not only fulfilled but given to an extent that you have it in plenty, then there is no drive left for you to do something about anything. Now by hearing certain talks, you may not feel that need. You will feel that talk is nice for some time, but you don't have that internal need, neither biological or nor any achievement needs, because you're born with a golden spoon, silver spoon, and your parents have provided you everything. Then you are not motivated to do anything. Hence I always feel that we need to fulfill children's needs, but we should not be fulfilling their wants because they are wanting it. So motivation is utterly important in terms of emotional intelligence. So all those parents who are hearing today, I want you to understand that if you really want your children to become responsible, provide them with needs, but do not provide them with wants. The fourth important thing in emotional intelligence is empathy. Another thing that I have an issue with this generation is they lack empathy. So I am only thinking about myself. I have become more self-indulgent. I am more self-absorbent. I am mostly on the Facebook, Instagram, putting up things. I am least bothered about the world, and hence I have become so irresponsible that I do not have this social responsibility of even wearing mask, because I might transmit the infection to someone else, is not a thought that this generation will have. So I think empathy is, I understand the other person's situation. And in relationship, what is more important is to understand the other person's situation and feel and perceive from the other person's side. If you do not understand what the other person is feeling, then I think relationship cannot be maintained. And lastly, most important thing in emotional intelligence is maintaining relationships. Now we cannot live alone in this world. All of us know we are social animals, and hence we all need people around us. But when we need people around us, the first thing is that we have to be responsible towards their emotional health. Hence, empathy, listening to them, having capacity to love, all this comes in emotional intelligence. So I think emotional intelligence comprises of not only self-awareness, but self-regulation, empathy, motivation, and maintaining and keeping relationship.
Very nice, Monali. Here I remember that the very nice example of very good emotional intelligence, Abdul Kalam ji.
Yes.
Yeah, and motivation.
Yes.
Because he was brought from the very low strata, but he could reach such a heights.
Yes.
And here I also remember one sentence of Aristotle. So that regarding the anger, anybody can become angry. That is easy. But to be angry with right person,
Yes.
and to the right degree, and at right time, for right purpose, and in the right way, that is not with everybody's power, and it is not easy.
Yes. Yes.
We will go to next question. What do you mean by self-awareness? Does it matter in life? You have explained it, no?
No, but I would want to get into more details of it.
Okay.
Basically, every human being has got two minds. One mind is an emotional mind, which is impulsive, illogical, and it wants to fulfill whatever comes in its mind immediately. Another mind is a rational mind, which thinks, and it has got awareness, it is thoughtful, and it will get into action only when it is required. Now, self-awareness means having a control over this emotional mind by staying aware with this rational mind. The basic problem of today's generation is they get impulsive, and hence they get into any kind of relationship or addictions without thinking what the consequences of this relationship or this kind of addictions could be. So I suppose this integration of rational mind has to be there. Self-awareness also means understanding the bad emotions and letting them go. It is also about not keeping them inside, ruminating about it, getting obsessed about it, thinking only about it, becoming more angry, revengeful against the society. So I think self-awareness is also about that. Self-awareness is also about because we are talking about emotional intelligence, I feel every individual has to let go the past, but also learn from it. So past is to be forgotten, but learning is to be done. But what people do is they ruminate over it and they do not learn. So learning is not done, but they will blame or only complain about the past. So I think emotional intelligence is about letting go of the past, learning. Similarly, it is also about not worrying about the future, but planning about it. So I should not be worrying about my future, what would happen, and waste my current present. But I should be planning my future wisely according to my requirements, according to understanding of my own limitations, my own strengths, weaknesses, and plan the future in such a way that I would have a secure life later. So I think living in the present with learning from the past and planning for the future is self-awareness.
Very nice. Are there good and bad emotions? How can we manage them?
Okay, now what is being taught to all of us is anger is bad, sadness is bad, you always have to be happy. We as psychiatrists or psychologists always feel is emotions are not bad. Neither they are bad nor they are good. Appropriateness of emotions is needed, as I gave an example of anger earlier. So why anger is important? Anger is important because it will protect you when someone is violating some rights of yours. Fear is important because it will help you survive. So I need to have a fear of COVID, of course, but to a rational extent, so that I maintain social distancing, I wear mask. So a rational fear is needed for individual survival. Similarly, happiness is needed to enjoy life and feel the joy. Sadness is also needed because we have to grieve the loss. If we do not feel sadness when something is lost in your life, I think that can continue as depression. So suppression of any emotion is not correct. So all the range of emotions that human beings feel are all good until and unless they are appropriate in terms of that situation. Now, how do you manage emotions? The first and foremost thing, as I have already spoken, is we have to get aware. Second important thing is we have to think over whatever we are feeling. So this thinking is very important. What happens is human beings tend to feel and immediately react, and that thinking is lost in between. Second important thing that all of us need to practice is the thinking is to be based on proper, rational, logical understanding of the current situation and not on your belief systems about it. Sometimes you believe about certain things in certain manner, and that is so much fixed in your head that you feel this is only the correct thing. Hence, if someone else does something which is correct in a way in worldly terms, but because you cannot relate to it, because you have some different idea, you tend to react. So the thing about emotional management is to take a pause. Once you feel, you have to think, you have to non-judgmentally challenge your belief systems, understand the whole situation, and then respond to it rather than react to any specific situation. So this pause is very important. Second important thing is people might have different perspective towards different things. We have to respect these differences, and we have to be sensitive towards someone else's emotions. All of us are human beings. No one is born bad. This is something that all of us need to understand. No one is born bad. So people might have certain weird ideas. People might have certain wrong belief systems, but they are not bad individuals. If we become sensitive to their ignorance probably, or their misunderstanding or misconception, then probably we will empathically deal with it and not react. So I think that is how we have to manage our own emotions.
I also agree with this, learning and responding, not reacting. Because even if we manage the medical emergencies, what I have learned in 1981, this is not true today.
Yes.
But I go on learning through all the managements of my patients.
Yes.
And listening to my patients. And go on learning. And we should not react, we should respond, we should think properly, and then only manage.
Yes.
In every situation, it should be the
Yes.
reaction.
And the skill that madam is talking of is known as being open-minded. So we have to be open-minded towards the experience and the learning. If you are fixed inside your head that this is the only way it is to be done and not the other way, then I think this fixation itself is problematic. Being open-minded is always a good thing, because then you always believe that there is much to learn, and you are open to learn, and you are open to change. So I think this is a very important skill which madam brought up.
What are the things needed for us to have good life?
Okay, for all of us as individuals to have a good life, I think the very first thing that I want all of you to understand is life is difficult. It doesn't sound good to hear that, but yes, life is difficult, life is uncertain, and hence each of us has to take it seriously. Now, what do I mean by taking it seriously? We have to understand that we just can't go unaware and get caught up in any situation, but we have to prepare ourselves for life. Now, what does the preparation for life mean? The first important thing that I would want the new generation to inculcate in themselves is discipline. Now, why discipline is important? Discipline basically is will in action. So you have got willpower, but that willpower is inside your brain, and having that willpower here only doesn't make any sense. It has to be put into action. So discipline basically is willpower that you are putting up in action. Now, all of us have got desires in life, and these desires lead us to action. So discipline is about bringing those desires and dreams into reality by doing certain things, by sacrificing certain things. And the most important aspect of discipline is delaying gratification. Now, what does delaying gratification means? Delaying gratification means, now me and madam are having a talk here. I suddenly feel like eating a samosa because I'm smelling one nice samosa out there. So if I interrupt the talk in between and tell madam that let us pause it and I just want to have samosa, I will have samosa and I will have the talk later, would that go well for either her, me or anyone out there? It would be waste of time, disrespect to the program. So I will have to control my gratification of eating samosa for some higher purpose. So in life, we have to delay all the gratification, all the pleasures to fulfill our targets and goals. The new generation is a generation which is exposed to too much of pleasure-oriented things, right from social media to different addictions. And hence, if you keep gratifying yourself on WhatsApp discussion or putting photos on Instagram and wasting your time there, then probably you are not respecting the time that is limited in your life. Second important thing that all of us need to understand is time is limited for all of us and it is not given to someone more or someone any less. Now, second important thing it comes is, if you want to have a good life, the most important virtue that you need to take is taking responsibility of one's own life. It is very easy to either blame the luck or the stars or the parents or the religion for being born into one. So I suppose responsibility is, I am responsible for my own life. I will take hold of it. Whatever is required for doing anything about it, I am going to do it myself. For which the third important thing is seeing the truth as it is. We all have got a tendency to falsify the truth and cover it up with something that ये मेरे साथ नहीं होगा, मेरे साथ अच्छा ही हो जाएगा. And probably tomorrow I would be able to do that. It is not an emergency or an urgency that I do it today. ये important problem है ही नहीं. I do not have any options. So all this falsification is being done by all of us and hence we do not see the truth as it is. It is always better, if you want to lead a good life, you need to see the truth as bluntly as it is. If I have a problem in my life, I have a problem in my life. I just cannot say that I will look into it tomorrow. I do not have the capacity to deal with it. मेरे stars ही खराब है. I will wait until the stars get better. So I think dedication to truth is utterly important. Fourth important thing I suppose is knowing one's own limitations. Now this is very important because at times I feel people have unrealistic expectations not only from themselves and from other people around them also. All of us have got limitations. We need to accept our limitations and do what best we can do with whatever we have. So I think complaining about not having enough or either denying that you have limitations and taking undue risk into matters where you are going to fail, I suppose is another wrong way of adding stress or problems in your life. So I think we have to have self-awareness of one's own strengths, limitations in terms of your physical, mental capabilities, capacities as well as worldly things. And then the last important thing is when you know your limitations, you have an act of balancing. Now what does this act of balancing mean? Act of balancing means neither overdoing certain things nor overcompensating certain things or underdoing certain things. It means there are few people who are great achievers in their life, but they do that at the cost of their health. So they have, madam must be knowing it, great achievers have hypertension, diabetes, and they have issues of obesity because they go only towards achieving one goal after another. They have
sometimes addictions also.
Addictions also. They have a huge financial assets in their banks, but the cost that they pay is with their health. Sometimes there are few people who would only go in for a relationship and forget about their responsibility towards their studies and their targets. So in life, there are phases wherein you have to be responsible towards those phases wherein you might be in an age of child rearing, you have to rear children, you have to look after them. Then there might be some professional aspect that you might be looking into. Then there might be old people around in the family whom you will have to look into. So I think a balancing act of your personal and people around's life has to be done. This would amount to good life.
Very nicely explained, Monali, and this will help our audience to manage their things very well. Definitely. What are the things needed for us to have that? How much is the discipline important in one's life? You have explained.
Yes, but I would like to talk more about it. Now, discipline is very, very important, and most of the people who fail in their life or get into stress are people who are not disciplined. Today there is a era where people would like to get up at whatever time, sleep at whatever time, do whatever they want to do, and lead a very reckless and careless life, believing that when the time would be correct, we would be able to do things. And this correct time never comes, I am telling you. So I think discipline is something that is to be inculcated from the start and practiced till the end. I want the new generation to understand few things. Nothing comes for free in this life. One has to pay the price. Now the price that we pay is in terms of the efforts, in terms of time, and in terms of our emotional investment about a specific goal and a target. So if you have any specific target in your life, these three things are very important. So you will have to manage your time, you will have to put your emotions into it, and also you will have to put in your dedication towards that goal. Until and unless you do that, I suppose you won't be able to achieve your targets. Now, why discipline is important? Because until and unless you discipline yourself, I think you won't be able to prioritize or you won't know which thing is more important for you. So how would you manage your time? So discipline comes here. Another thing is, I suppose, be it anything, delaying gratification is the most important virtue each one of us has to practice in life. So do not become impulsive, gratify yourself. The more you learn to control your impulses, the more achievement oriented you would be. I would like to cite an example here. A study was being done long back and children of age 4 were given candies, and they were told that if they had 2 candies, and they were told that if they could control eating these 2 candies till 1 hour, they would be having more candies. But there were few children who ate it immediately, and there was a group of children who kept the candies with themselves, and at the age of 4, keeping the candies in front but not eating it for 1 hour was something which was a very difficult task for them. Now this Stanford study was done, and later these children were followed till the age of 25, and it was found that children who could resist eating candies were children who had done absolutely well in terms of their professional life, and children who ate immediately had become addicted, had a difficult life, could not complete their graduations. So gratification to hold on to, and in Indian culture, as you know, yes, Sayam, and in Indian culture, as you know, Upvas is something which we practice. That is for delaying gratification, controlling the instinct of yes, controlling the hunger for so that the instinctual behavior is controlled. So I think for us to achieve in life, discipline is utterly important. It will result in your goal achievement.
2-3 days back, I have seen one girl. She was electrical engineer. Past 2 years back, she was studying for some banking studies, but she used to come for this and that complaints and all that, and all the investigations were normal.
Yes.
Repeatedly, and she was looking smart. very well. I asked her what work you do around daily. Her mother said she doesn't work at all in the house.
Yeah.
She gets up at 9 a.m.
Yeah.
and sleeps at 11, 12. She goes on playing on the mobile, WhatsApp and Facebook and everything.
Yes.
And then I warned her that from tomorrow you should get up at least at 6:30. You should prepare tea for your mother and father, and you should work with your mother. You can study your for banking and all that for few hours. You are not doing studies for 24 hours.
Yes.
And all the complaints will reduce.
Yes.
And there is no discipline. I told her, you are 24 years old, you are not earning and not helping also in the house. Your mother is a heart patient and still you don't feel like helping her.
Yeah.
And this is the thing.
So if we look into this case, this is lack of empathy towards the mother. So empathy is not there. Second important thing is falsification of one's own truth, that I am studying and hence I don't have time. And the person who is actually going for exams is hardly studying for 2-3 hours, and rest of the time she is probably wasting on certain aspects which are not needed currently. Third important thing is, these days I suppose we have, all of us got into a tendency to fool ourselves and to only gratify ourselves, believing that things will get better in our life. This is something which we call malignant optimism. Malignant optimism means मेरे साथ सब कुछ ठीक हो जाएगा, है ना? Positive thinking is good, but malignant optimism, believing that कि सभी ठीक होने वाला है life में, is something which is based on unrealistic fooling of one's own self, as well as not being honest with oneself. I think a thoughtful pessimism is needed in life. Thoughtful pessimism prepares you for the exams. I need to understand that my exam might go wrong. I might not be able to solve all the questions. Hence, I need to study. So, some amount of thoughtful pessimism is needed in life. But these days, all children and all people are more into grooming and covering oneself with a lot of makeup, different dresses, materialistic things, and going away from the character building strength that one has to have in life. So personality development is not important. What is important is character building, and character building happens not by putting up a makeup on your face and putting up a good face, but if you really look into people who are high achievers like Mark Zuckerberg, who has made Facebook, he hardly spends any time on Facebook. And he has created Facebook wherein children are using it left and right. He himself doesn't use it. So you need to understand that you can use these social media for probably marketing yourself, or probably for some amount of relaxation. But everything has got a value in your life. Give it the value that it deserves. Do not make it your life. These days I feel the new generation has made social media the life itself, and so much of time is being spent on it that you hardly realize that you have lost the most important years of formative career that you can have.
How can I increase my emotional intelligence? Very important question.
As I have already covered it, but I will just cover it again as a revision. By staying aware, by accepting what I am, by being responsible, by being sensible, by being sensitive towards other people, by being honest and not falsifying the truth, by not fooling oneself, I think by delaying gratification, by knowing one's own needs and priorities in life, putting efforts to fulfill them, and the most important is regulating one's own emotions for one's own progress in life. I suppose if we know what we want in life, and we are not behind comparing ourselves with someone else, then I suppose we are at peace with ourselves. Life is not made up of what other people think of you. It is more important what you think of yourself and what you can make most of it.
Definitely. How can one maintain the relationships?
Okay, this is very important, I suppose, in life, and these days relationship is becoming. I suppose the problem with all of us is that we all have started taking relationship for granted. Now, what has happened is in relationship, it is not a one-way kind of a communication or a one-way kind of responsibility. Relationship is a two-way responsibility for which we will have to invest a lot of things. Now, loving the other person is very important in a relationship, and loving doesn't mean I say, madam, I love you, and that is it. It doesn't end there. So I say I love you, and then I just start looking into my own social media and leave you there. But I keep saying I love you, doesn't mean that actually I am being responsible towards the relationship. So loving basically is putting your emotions into action for the other person. So if you need my help, if you need my care, if you need my understanding, if you need my listening ear, I am available for you. That is meant by love. Love doesn't mean I give you a rose on Valentine's Day and forget you after 1 hour. After 1 hour I just forget, and I just give you one rose and sing a good song and then leave you there. So relationship is about an act of love, an act of responsibility, an act of understanding. Now another thing that I feel is relationship is not about power struggles. Relationship is not about ego issues. Relationship maintenance means one has to step back sometimes for the higher purpose. So it is not about being correct every time. It is not about winning the argument every time. Sometimes for the sake of another person, for the sake of relationship, we step back. The real power is not in power struggle. The real power is in restraint at the right time. So restrain from saying something bad. Restrain from getting into arguments. Restrain from getting into fights. So I think there the real power is. For relationship, we have to step back sometimes. Another thing that I feel is we also need to sacrifice certain things. We need to sacrifice certain things for sensible reasons. I do not want you to believe that I am saying that become a bath mat. I am not saying that you have to become a bath mat, that anybody would come and wipe the legs and move on. But for sensible reasons, sometimes for the priorities, for correct choices, for something which is more important in your life, you sacrifice certain things. And that doesn't mean that it is something that is a very different kind of adjustment which you again and again encash later in relationship and bring it back and make the other person guilty about it and keep telling him ki मी असं तुमच्यासाठी केलं होतं, I have sacrificed this, I have sacrificed. You don't bring it that way. So sometimes some sacrifice is needed. Another important aspect in relationship, madam, is letting go of wrong emotions that you have felt in the past about the person. So letting go is utterly important. If you carry that grudge and if you carry those stamps that you have collected in the arguments and you keep bringing them up for 20 years or whatsoever and keeps telling the other person that this is how it is, you have been doing this to me and blaming the other person, I think that goes against the relationship. Another important aspect is relationship is not about controlling the other person. So these days I suppose everyone is controlling the other person to an extent that you own the other person as an object. And you would define, I would like to have an access on your social media account, I would like to check what you are doing, and so much of mistrust and insecurity is coming up. A relationship is not about control. We need to respect that the other person is an individual, is a human being. He or she might have certain choices which might be different from yours. So she might like a Hindi movie which is an old Hindi movie. You might like something which is Pushpa, which is coming, which has come up recently. So allow the other person to be himself or herself. You be yourself. So it is not about trying to control or too much of togetherness, which is another norm which I feel is a wrong norm. Too much of togetherness. Everything is to be done together to an extent that people feel so clinged or so stuffed into the relationship that they tend to go away.
So this, at this point I am like, we both are here doing this session.
Yes.
And our family members
Yes.
have agreed this.
Yes.
That we like such
Yes.
things to do.
Yes.
And we are doing it.
Yes.
And we could do it nicely because
They respect our choices.
Yes,
They are respecting
respect
our choices.
Yeah.
And they are giving us the time that we require. So I think respecting the time
For
and
preparation
space.
and all
Yes.
that, and also they give
Yes.
time.
Yes. So respecting someone else's choices in terms of space and time is to be done. Fourth important thing I feel is investing real emotions into people and not faking it. Let us not fool the other person. People are not fooled. They understand genuine communication. So listening here, empathic listening, understanding the other person, being for the other person is what relationship maintenance is all about. And last and most important is learning to forgive the other person if ever he has done something which did not go well with you. In relationship, if you want to maintain it, you have to let go, forgive whatever was being done to you. You may not forget it, but you will be at peace with it, and you will understand the other person and forgive him for his misdoings. I think until and unless your self-respect is not crushed, forgiveness can be given to any thing that happens in relationship, be it arguments or be it any kind of tiff that you have. So if you really want to have healthy relationship, respect the existence of other person as a human being. Do not see them as objects. They are not objects for your pleasure that you own, or objects of your objects for you to display, or objects for you to entertain yourself. They are human beings. They are different. Respect them for their choices, priorities, and limitations.
And here also a feeling of gratitude
Yes.
with everybody, servant, working with the other members, our superiors, and whenever they have helped or anything, if there is a feeling of gratitude,
Yes.
we always be happy.
Yes.
And always pick up the good things of the people.
Yes.
And never point out mistakes.
Yes.
Then also we म्हणतात ना की जर आपण त्याच्यात चांगलं पाहिलं तर आपल्यात ते चांगलं उतरतं.
Yes.
तसं नेहमी पाहण्याची सवय लावायला पाहिजे.
Yes, such an important point Madam has brought up. I think feeling of gratitude is such an important thing, because until and unless we feel that we are privileged enough to be born as human beings who have got higher intelligence, and we should be using this intelligence not only to make up our life but also to make up other people's life, and being thankful about having the basic necessities fulfilled, and having this understanding that there are other individuals in this world who may not even have these basic necessities fulfilled, and doing something for them, I think is an act of being human. So I think gratitude, yes, every day when you go on bed, one has to have this sense of gratitude towards having life led in such a manner that you don't have the basic stresses in life and you are living a fulfilling life.
Very nice. What are the virtues and what are the virtues one should inculcate for becoming what one can become in his life?
I think the most important thing is, as I said, is disciplining oneself. If you discipline yourself, I think half the thing is done. Delaying gratification, another important thing. Another thing that the new generation needs to understand is, you dream big, but the kind of commitment that needs to be that needs to be done for that kind of dream that you have is somewhere where things go wrong. I suppose people dream big, they start like an Arambashur and do it for 2-3 days, and then they feel that it is not my cup of tea, I will do it later, or maybe, as I said, malignant optimism, that things will go well. So they do not keep that commitment. And commitment is such an important thing. Commitment with oneself towards one's own goals. I think that cannot come from outside. So commitment is very important. Second important thing is introspection. So I suppose I need to look within myself. I need to give some time to really understand what I want in my life. What is it that I look forward to? And not comparing it with someone else, because in materialistic world you can have range of people who have materialistic things, right from if one has to mention Ambani's to Bill Gates. So you need to understand what do you want in life. You just if you keep comparing yourself and having an unsatisfied life, then probably you are going on a wrong way. So I need to have a complete understanding of what is meant by being comfortable in my life and what is meant by living a leisurely, luxurious life. So how much leisure and luxurious life you want is your choice. Decide about it and then run behind it. So I think that needs a lot of introspection. I think accepting one's weakness is very important, because if you do not introspect inside and do not understand what weaknesses you have in your personality, you will not work on it. Every individual has got weaknesses, myself inclusive. So I need to understand, okay, this is how, maybe I'm short-tempered, so I need to work on it. If I work on my weaknesses, that helps one to progress in life. Most important thing is, for acceptance we need to have honesty. So I need to be honest. I cannot fool myself saying that everything is good in me. A person who says that everything is good in me and I know everything, I think is a person who is going to put himself into the major problem in life. So I know all, I am all good is something that one should never get into. All of us need to be honest with oneself, with whatever we are. I think we also, all of us, need to inculcate this important thing, which means being genuine in communication. These days I feel all of us communicate only at a very what is the word? What's a bold number? I mean to say we fake things. So yes, we fake things. We even if we are not liking something, we will still say we are liking it. We will unnecessarily flatter and praise the other person. And genuine talks between two individuals is not seen. Yes. So I think wearing a mask and for praising the other person, flattery is something that has come into communication. I think that should go away. We need to be genuine when we are talking with people.
लगेच एकदा बोलायचं आणि लगेच दुसरीकडे दुसरं बोलायचं. जे आहे ते खरं तुमचं ओपिनियन असणं जास्त गरजेचं असतं.
Yes, and that helps the other individual. Second important thing is focusing on whatever is at hands. I think the problem with new generation is lack of concentration. So lack of concentration happens because too much of distraction in things that are not important in your life is taking away your time. So you feel this is important because other people are doing it and there is a lot of peer pressure and that makes you do that. But you have to understand that you are only losing your focus, you are only losing your time. So I think focusing and putting efforts towards one's own targets is very important. Listening is very poor these days. I suppose the best thing that you can do to people is listen. Listen to them. Talk less, listen more. If you listen, probably you will understand them better.
In our profession also, we should listen.
Yes. And people have got problems, and if you listen, at times they solve their problems by their own. They don't need any solutions. They only need some listening ears. And I think you lose nothing if you listen to someone empathically. So I think this is a virtue which one needs to inculcate. And above all, in today's world, that I feel the most important thing is capacity to love and have compassion. Compassion towards other human beings is needed. We need to be compassionate towards other underprivileged people who are not privileged enough to even have basic necessities of life. So if you are privileged enough to have luxuries, share some booty of yours with people. I think service to humanity is the best service in your capacity. Maybe you share knowledge, maybe you share your wealth, maybe you share your physical strength by doing some services in hospitals or anath ashrams or something. I think having compassion towards the society which is underprivileged and needy is such an important
It gives
virtue.
happiness to you,
Yes.
not only help to them.
Yes, and there has been many research that is being done that who are the people who are the most happy people? Those people are happy who are helping others. So happiness comes in helping other individuals. Pleasure you might get into any drinking or watching movie or stuff which will not stay with you for long, but a smile on someone else's face because you have done something that helped that individual will stay with you for life. And hence I think such kind of compassion and help towards the downtrodden and people who are needy is needed. Not only living life for oneself and living for others is very important. And at the end of the day, I would like to say that we live in the world and it is our responsibility to make it a better place to live because we are the part of the world. We just can't shun off the responsibility saying that it is not my responsibility. We are a part of this society. So in whatever capacities, if we can do something for the society, I think that is the best virtue that one can have in life.
वसुधैव कुटुंबकम
Yes.
सर्वे तु सुखिनः सन्तु सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखमाप्नुयात्. हे सगळं कधी पॉसिबल होईल? आपण लोकांना हेल्प केली तर आणि समानता त्यातल्या त्यात येऊ शकली तर. आपण काही असं म्हणत नाही की आपणच सगळं काही करू शकू,
Yes.
पण सगळ्यांनी मिळून जर करायचा प्रयत्न केला
Yes.
तर नक्कीच आनंद या देशातला जगातला
Yes.
वाढेल.
Yes.
तर याबरोबरच मी आपल्या ज्या प्रमुख वक्त्या आहेत मोनाली देशपांडे यांनी आपल्याला इतकं सुंदर समजून सांगितलं आहे, तर याचा आपण सगळ्यांनी लाभ घ्यावा. हे आपले जर आजचं रेकॉर्डिंग आहे ते परत आपल्याला कधीही बघता येईल, तर तुम्ही आज वेळ नसेल तरी ते यूट्यूबवर फेसबुक लाईव्हवर अवेलेबल आहे. पेरेंट्सनी, मुलांनी, शिक्षकांनी ते परत बघावं अशी मी त्यांना खूप विनंती करते. आणि याबद्दल मी मोनाली मॅडमची खूप आभारी आहे. आणि IMA औरंगाबाद जी असे कार्यक्रम राबवते त्याबद्दल म्हणून आमच्या सेक्रेटरी, अध्यक्ष आणि आमच्या अर्चना मॅडम यांची पण मी खूप खूप आभारी आहे.
थँक्यू सो मच. थँक्यू.
थँक्यू. ऐकलं का रे अमोल?